Welcome to the First Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Ann Arbor, Michigan, and welcome to our annual All-Ages Earth Day service. It's such a joy to be together for this beloved service in this beloved space as we slowly begin to move back into our physical building and hopefully reopen at some point in the months ahead. It's also a special time together because we are welcoming our friends from the Church of the River congregation in Memphis, Tennessee. It's so wonderful to be together with our friends from Church of the River, not only today, but throughout this past year as we've collaborated together. Today, we are honoring Earth Day and also our monthly theme for April, which is Speak, by exploring how the earth speaks to us. During this time of year, people talk a lot about how to take care of the earth. There's so much to do, and it's important. And in fact, it's a big part of the work we do together in this community. But as our Seventh Unitarian Universalist principle reminds us, we don't just take care of the earth, we're also part of it. So today we're going to be sharing some stories about how each of us connects to the earth. We're going to be exploring how the earth can help guide us, support us, and teach us. But first, we begin our time together by lighting our chalice. And as I've been thinking about the chalice this week, I've been thinking about one of the things I miss the most about being together in person, which is the moment when we get down into our spiritual growth and development classes. Everyone's gotten their wiggles out. We pull out our little plastic electric candles, and then we say our children's words together. And so today I invite you to join me in saying those special words. And the kids can teach their adults about the special hand motions that go with this. So together, let us say, we are Unitarian Universalists. This is the home of the open mind. This is the home of the loving heart. This is the home of the helping hands. This is the home of the flaming chalice. Together we care for our earth and work for peace in our world. Now I invite you to join me in spirit or by lighting your own chalice at home. And together let us say, we light this chalice for the light of truth. We light this chalice for the warmth of love. We light this chalice for the energy of action. We light this chalice for the harmony of peace. Another way that we begin our time together is by saying our covenant, which is a set of promises we make to each other about how we'll be together, how we'll treat each other. Even if we break these promises on accident, we know that we can always begin again in love, because that's what it means to be part of a community. So please join me as we say, the spirit of this church is love, and service is its law. This is our covenant with each other, to dwell together in peace, to search for truth in love, and to help one another.
The earth returned, the earth returned, the earth returned, the earth returned, the earth, the fire returned, the earth, the fire returned, the earth, the fire, the earth, the water, the fire, the water, the fire, the air, return. The earth, the water, the fire, the air, return. The earth, the water, the fire, the air, return. The earth, the water, the fire, the air, return. The earth, the water, the fire, the air, 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 the earth, the wa
Good morning. My name is Jeannine LaPrad, and I serve this congregation as co-chair of the Climate Crisis Action Group. Today, as we celebrate Earth Day 2021, we appreciate the profound beauty of our planet, and we recognize that the protection of Earth's vitality, diversity, and beauty is a sacred trust. Environmentalism and sustainability have been front and center at UUAA for many years. The Climate Crisis Action Group is currently working with the congregation to fulfill the climate crisis and environmental goals outlined in our vision for 2050. As a starting point, we've been reflecting on where we've been as a congregation and where we are going. Our beautiful 46 acres of land, which sits on the original homelands of the Council of the Three Fires, the Ojibwe, Odawa, and Potawatomi tribes, serves as a place for ceremony, reflection, meditation, and pleasure. Our congregation sees ourselves as stewards of this property and we aspire to make our land a model of sustainable stewardship. The congregation is also committed to reducing our carbon footprint, and through Ed Lynn's leadership have been working with students from the Graham Sustainability Institute at the University of Michigan to explore how we can reach our goal of carbon neutrality. Thanks to the vision and hard work of Dave Friedrichs and many others in the congregation, we know we're already making good progress on this goal through several renewable energy projects. For example, in 2010, we installed the 90-foot wind turbine we refer to as our steeple, and expanded our rooftop solar panels to produce a significant amount of our own energy and reduce our carbon emissions. We're also proud that our renewable energy projects have been largely funded by members of the congregation. In honor of that, the Energy Plaza in front of the church was created to pay tribute to all who directly supported these initiatives. UUAA has been acknowledged nationally and here in Michigan for the impact we're having through our renewable energy commitments. In 2003, we were designated a Green Sanctuary congregation by the Unitarian Universalist Association, and in 2018, a Cool congregation by Michigan Interfaith Power and Light. Our congregation's vision for 2050 also recognizes the need to broaden our view on climate action to include justice for vulnerable communities most affected by climate change. We see how our environmental, economic, political, social, and spiritual challenges are interconnected, and we aspire to work together toward more inclusive solutions. In 2018, the Climate Crisis Action and Challenging Racism groups began exploring the intersection of environmental, racial, and economic justice through a series of book and film discussions. In 2019, we joined the Ann Arbor Climate Partnership and became one of the sponsors of the Global Climate Strike, organized through the Sunrise Movement and other youth-led groups. In late 2020, early 2021, we began discussion with more than 24 people in the congregation about how to organize our climate action and sustainability work in ways that align with our commitment to climate justice, anti-racism, anti-oppression, and radical welcome. We're excited to announce today that earlier this month, we joined the Unitarian Universalist Association's Green Sanctuary 2030 certification program. This program will help us build on our strengths and identify new opportunities for working together toward climate justice. The mission of Green Sanctuary addresses all three of our congregation's priority areas and aligns well with our congregational vision of creating a more sustainable and just world. The steps along the way to Green Sanctuary recertification will support us in engaging in collaborative planning and action with many groups inside and outside the congregation. We know it's time to step up our commitment to climate action, and to do it by living our UU values with a sense of optimism, courage, creativity, and joy, and in partnership with those who have been historically marginalized. In the coming months, there will be opportunities for all members of the congregation to play an important role in this work. Please visit the Climate Crisis Action Group page on the UUAA website to learn more. We look forward to being in community with you and others in this movement toward a more just future.
Because every day with my grandfather was extraordinary, this was just an ordinary day. My grandfather was the best pal in my life every day of the first 14 years of my life. He walked me to school every single morning I had school. He met me each afternoon right across the street from that school when I was done, across from the giant city gravel playground, in a lawn which he had turned by hand into a garden of colors and vegetables on which eyes and mouths would feast themselves full. For that, he was a hero to me and a magician. And because he took such joy in doing all of this without permission of the local government, which claimed to own the land, he appeared to me as big, as mighty, as rebellious as a mountain. I helped with the carrots, and he helped with all of my homework. Every afternoon, he would walk me home. And each next morning, my grandfather woke me with this very same tune, which seemed to feel hilarious, even though I was not a morning type of kid. I can't get him up, I can't get him up, I can't get him up in the morning. I can't get him up, I can't get him up, and I can't get him up in the morning. Louder and louder until I got out of bed freely or suffered the wrath of the dispatched, loud-singing, pokey-fingered tickle monster, who, come to think of it, looked exactly like my grandfather. This ordinary day, in a summer, when I was 6, we waited until my mother and grandmother left the house. Then we cranked up the tools to make our usual breakfast. Black coffee and a flattened, buttered, fried bread slice. For years I had believed I invented this dish until I heard someone explain exactly what toast was. This ordinary day in my 6-year-old life, we walked toward the tiny center of town with the 10 or so shops in the entire neighborhood. He bought from the market a covered styrofoam cup. He didn't tell me what was inside. He just placed it in my hand and we walked the cup all the way down to where our neighborhood met the Middle Branch River. I held it. The styrofoam cup, I held it myself, suspecting candy, praying candy. The Miracle Mountain Man, my grandfather, walked ahead of me and strongly asked for my courage to follow him onto the footbridge and pier that extended into the water, though that was way past my comfort zone. This was the day's adventure. When I'd inched close enough, he opened the cup right in my hands. He plucked out of clumps of dirt a worm bigger than I had ever seen. And he told me that today we would learn to fish. I was afraid of bridges of any kind. Dirt, let's just say my one Little League baseball sports recognition was for cleanest uniform. Worms? Ugh. And I didn't swim. I was 50 ways terrified. But he held the worm in both our sights, a little closer than I would have liked. And he told me that this worm will be the reason that we eat today, and the reason we live. That this worm connects me with the fish and myself, the water and the dirt that surround us all, and from which we are made. The stars are made of this stuff too. You and I might as well be stars. Did you know that? For a moment, I forgot I was afraid of bridges and water. I forgot that I didn't like mud or worms. I concentrated on this idea of me, the star, hanging around with my grandfather, the mountain, his eyes still on mine. He lifts the long worm casually in 2 fingers, and without a blink places the worm into his mouth and eats it, to which I respond, "Ew, gross!" while he laughed what sounded like a satisfying laugh, though I was not amused. And then, once my nerves had returned and had time to remember to breathe again, when my whole self had come back, no longer pretending to be courageous or unafraid in the places that it wasn't, he said again, in all that company of feeling and calming panic, that this worm will be the reason that we eat, and this worm connects us to the fish and ourselves, and the water and the dirt which surround us, and for which we are made. He reminds me that the stars are made of this stuff too, and that we might as well be stars. Did you know that? From that night, and for a very long time, I've not ever tried to avoid the edge of water, but I still get a little nervous. I don't think much of me the star or him the mountain man, though we were, and so are you. Did you know that? I realize now the world needs more loud-singing, pokey-fingered tickle monsters to distract away from letting fears take the lead in our lives, and to stay beside us through the everyday rituals and extraordinary surprise adventures until we are laughing tears of joy to the river, reminding the tears that they are made of the ocean, and the ocean is made of them too. To ask the tears if anyone had ever stopped to tell them that they were the creators of life. Did they know that? Sometimes the worms are as close as the space between us. If we keep inching forward. And so then, our understanding, joy, and delight.
As our intergenerational time together today deepens, I'm reminded of relationship and of trees. Now, you might wonder what the two have to do with one another, and it's something that I suspect our younger members of our community will easily be able to understand, even as those of us like myself who are older, we have to remember and remind ourselves. I was reminded of relationship and trees and the connection between the two many, many years ago as I was just starting out my ministry career. I was talking to a spiritual friend, mentor, teacher, and about big things, about the purpose of life, the purpose of being human, all these big, important things that we, over time, try to be present to and figure out. And as I had all these big questions, this friend said to me, "You know, you should talk to a tree." And I thought, that's the oddest advice anyone's ever given me, especially a spiritual mentor, friend, spiritual teacher. He wanted me to go talk to a tree, like actually talk to a tree. So not in metaphor or symbolically, but actually talk to a tree. So you can imagine what happened next. Me, Reverend Manish, going out by myself, making sure nobody else is around because I didn't want to feel self-conscious about it. But I figured this is somebody I know, love, trust. There must be something to this. I'll give it a try. I approached a lone tree, one that looked like it'd been around for a while. "Hello, tree. How are you today? I'm Manish. I don't expect you to respond, but somebody I know, love, trust, look up to, encourage me to talk to you, so I'm talking to you today." Still no response. I talked for a while. Trees are very good listeners, actually. You can tell them anything. They'll be fully present to whatever you have to say. It's actually a very beautiful thing. So I chose to do that because I didn't know what else to talk about with the tree. I just told it what was on my heart and my mind and anything I was wondering about. And it just received all of that, all that I had to say, like a really good longtime friend who was listening carefully. And then instead of waiting for the tree to talk back to me, I chose to just be present back, offer the tree the same gift it had given me. And in that deep presence was a different kind of listening. And listening to the birds that called the tree home, a noticing of the ants and the insects that burrowed around the tree, also calling it home, finding sustenance on the ground near the tree. So much life, so much vibrancy at the tiny, minuscule level, but also bigger levels. Leaves, living, turning, dying, being reborn. There was a lot. This quiet friend had a lot of wisdom about the nature of life, the cycles and rhythms of life. This is when I learned over time, and I discovered over time, something that we all know as adults and we forget. There are many different kinds of relationship. And in those different kinds of human relationship, human to human relationships, there are different kinds of talking. We don't all talk the same. There are different kinds of listening. We don't all listen in the same way. We have different styles and ways of listening to one another, being present to one another. Such is true for everything, for all kinds of relationship. There are different ways of talking and there are different ways of listening. And all relationships, including the relationships that I can have with a tree, that I can have with a river, the land that I live near and am around, all these relationships that are possible through different kinds of speaking, listening, being present to. Out of that grows care and mutuality. The true mark of any relationship is the mutual care that can exist in its midst. Reminded of all these things, I began to understand why that spiritual mentor, teacher, friend encouraged me to talk to a tree. It was about relationship, about being in relationship with the universe of which I'm a part, and learning how to communicate with it, be present to it, listen for the embedded wisdom, the intrinsic wisdom, the wisdom that it embodies, that it brings alive. All of those things. On this Earth Day weekend, that is a hope and a prayer I have for all of us, that we can deepen that sense of relationship and mutuality that we have with the natural world. And as part of that, I'm really delighted to be able to share with you, trees have been a very special part of my spiritual journey. You may even notice over both of my shoulders, there's artwork depicting trees in different ways. Trees I've come to appreciate and have in my life as a special kind of spiritual friend. In that recognition of our connection to the natural world, the Church of the River community, which over this pandemic year we've had this church swapping Sunday service relationship with, they've joined us on particular Sundays, we have joined them. Our two communities are going to, in the upcoming months, gift one another trees. The Church of the River community gifting us a tree and us gifting their community a tree as a way of acknowledging relationship, the relationship that has been developed between our two communities, the way in which through a sapling, through a tree, the nurturing of that kind of life, relationship, continuity, all of that exists even as we begin looking at new and different ways of being in relationship in the months ahead. What has been is honored and continues to be present in our lives and nurtured. Such a joy for Church of the River and First Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Ann Arbor to continue holding one another in these deep ways, in honoring our shared commitment to the natural world we are a part of, bringing our care, our love, and our sense of relationship to one another, and that. May we continue to do all of that deeply and well.
For those of you who don't know me, my name is QuianaDenae Perkins. I serve UUAA as the coordinator of congregational life. What many people don't know is that I have a master's degree in recreation, park, and leisure studies with a youth emphasis. At that time in my life, I was on a different path. I had the potential to become an outdoor leader, think ropes course or camp director. And although I loved that work, I was also really rooted in making the outdoor experience accessible to urban youth. Working at the YWCA of Minneapolis and later the YMCA of Chicago allowed me to bridge my passions. Although I loved being out in nature, over the years I had begun to go out less. And by the time COVID shelter in place hit, I found myself trapped and embracing sedimentary behaviors. When George Floyd was killed in May of 2020 in my hometown in the same zip code I used to live, I found myself mentally and emotionally sedimentary. I was at a loss for ideas and energy, for ways to heal the hurt I was seeing in the world and those who I loved. One day when scanning Facebook, a friend posted about Girl Trek. Now, quick rewind. I had heard about Girl Trek, but when I investigated, there was no local Ann Arbor chapter, so I just forgot about it until I saw her post. She shared that they were hosting a boot camp, and after some hesitancy, I searched in Google and learned a few things quickly. The mission of Girl Trek is to be a pioneering health movement for African American women and girls grounded in the civil rights history and principles through walking campaigns, community leadership, and health advocacy. I learned that Girl Trek is the largest public health nonprofit for African American women and girls in the United States, and that they were working to engage 1 million women through Girl Trek, a goal they reached in November of 2020. The boot camp was actually a podcast walking folks through 21 days of meditation in the footsteps of our foremothers. I was in. I also knew that the amount of sedimentation I was carrying made walking even short distances hard. However, I committed to listen to the 21 podcast. The conversation was a lively exchange between the Girl Trek founders being unapologetically proud Black women, sharing historical stories, offering non-denominational spiritual direction, and pushing the listener to dream into an Afro-womanist future. I learned heart-opening and heartbreaking stories, like that of Nina Simone, who struggled with mental health while giving us the Black is Beautiful anthem, or tales of mothering from Mamie Teals Mosley, whose son Emmett was killed when they were on their first vacation ever, or about the grave of Fannie Lou Hamer, which lacked funding to keep it mowed in the summer. While listening to the Victory Lap, I learned that there was a second series, Resistance Fighters. I was elated. I wanted to learn more, and by now I was all about the gospel of Girl Trek. I created a Facebook group, invited folks, and made personal commitment to walk. I reclaimed my walking stick that lived in my car and started out with just one step and one walk. I was dedicated to saving myself and was excited to share the Boot Camp podcast as a tool for others who were also in need of an emotional, spiritual balm. On my first walk, I learned about the Harriet Doctrine, a directive among Black people to go back and get others once you have been freed. I realized that in my gathering community and proselytizing the goodness of Girl Trek, I had done just that. I had gotten free from stagnation and invited others to get free too. As a group, we moved through Series 2, Resistance, Series 3, Faith Warriors, and in March, Series 4, Cosmonauts, which was dedicated to Black women whose life journeys and bodies of work defined off-world Black joy and excellence. Diana Ross, Mahalia Jackson, Queen Zinga. They closed the series with a live conversation with Dr. Mae Jameson about her experiences as an astronaut. I was blown away. Girl Trek has changed my life, changed how I see my body, how I see my energy and time, changed how I see history and legacy, shifted how I show up for my community and hence myself. I am proud to be among the 1 million Black women reclaiming our lives and our health. Girl Trek's influence has crossed over into all parts of my life. First, with my family. They now know that every day includes a walk. My kids know that at some point in the day we will be outside, and as we move into summer, we've added wheels in the forms of bikes and a longboard. The community that I created in that Girl Trek Facebook group is so personal and tender, and our sharing and caring for each other, our connection has evolved into something deeper and has helped us all make it through this phase of COVID. I had to invest in myself in new ways. I had to reclaim my worthiness and my right to a daily walk. I had to up my gear game. I had to get better headphones, better shoes, better winter layers. I got a Girl Trek hoodie to make sure that other Girl Trek women knew that I was a member of the tribe. I'd had a walking stick for years, but I added some yellow and blue ribbons to give it some flair. I now wear an activity tracker to help me with distance and steps. I invested in the tools I need to stay in this game in the long haul. But what Girl Trek has done is help me remember how much I need nature. I started with small walks, but once I got confidence, I started seeing new locations, longer paths, more rustic, less urban. I continued to take pictures of trees, water, birds, all things nature. I remembered that I belong to nature, that I am a part of nature, that this too is my church. I have come to see that my grounding in this world, this work, this faith needs to include dirt and earth, sky and trees. That in the swirl of all that is going on, the song of a bird I cannot name can call me back to myself in all of the best ways. Looking ahead, my next goal is to get to 6,000 steps, to walk in all of the metro parks, to visit as many state parks as my car will take me, to fall asleep in a boat and wake in a hammock, different trips, of course, maybe. My unapologetic truths are simple and hold no contradictions. I am a fat Black person who loves to walk, bike, swim, and camp. I am a Black face in green spaces. I belong there. I belong here because I belong to nature. And everyone belongs to nature. Ashe and Amen.
Our mother, we must take care of her. The earth is our mother, we must take care of her. Hey yana ho yana, hey yan yan. Hey yana ho yana, hey yan yan. Her sacred ground we walk upon with every step we take. Her sacred ground we walk upon with every step we take. Hey yana ho yana, hey yan yan. Hey yana ho yana. Anna Hey The earth is our mother, she will take care of us. The earth is our mother, she will take care of us. Hey Anna, oh Anna, hey Anya. Hey Anna, oh Anna, hey Anya.
Earlier this month, we asked many of you to share pictures of places in nature that you have a special relationship with. Now we get to experience the beauty of these places through your pictures. And as we do, I invite you to think about the places in nature that are special to you and why. If you want, you can even share the names of these places in the chat. Let us enter now into this time of sharing. Our time together is coming to a close now, but we invite you to continue connecting by joining us for Social Hour at uuaa.org/social hour. This is a wonderful way to get to know each other more through guided, small group conversations. If you're new to our community and you want to learn more about us, you can also let the host know so that they can invite you to a special breakout room for newcomers. As Glen Thomas, Reverend Manish, and QuianaDenae reminded us, our relationship with the natural world is important and can even shape who we are. On Earth Day, we celebrate this relationship and commit to taking care of the earth, not only in our own lives, but also together as a community. There is a lot of work to do, of course, but when we're able to stop and reconnect to the world around us, it gives us the strength we need to keep going. Of course, the same is true for our work in community. Creating a large, vibrant, supportive congregation is not easy, but we're able to do it because we have each other. Each one of us giving of our time, energy, money, talent, and presence, makes this possible. If you'd like to give to continue supporting this work, you can go to uuaa.org/giving. Thank you for your generosity in all the many ways that you give. In the week ahead, may each of us find the joy and renewal that we need in our relationships with the earth and with each other. And most of all, happy Earth Day to you all.